guys are going through this heartbreak. You just explained the fracturing of the Bernie movement that came from massive heartbreak because Bernie didn't perform. He sold us out. But you want to do it again? You want to do it again? Not only do you want to do it again, you brought on Marianne Williamson and allowed her to lie to your audience that her intention was to win the presidency. You allowed her to say that I'm going to win the presidency with no pushback, and you didn't do any pushback because that would be considered uncivil, right? Civility politics once again. So why am I bringing all this up? Because I'm doing a victory dance, if you guys can't tell. We got to do this every once in a while. Because RBN, we take a lot of smears.
Like, we take a lot of hits. We take a lot of hits, and sometimes in the background, we have to talk about it. Yeah, go ahead.
I am one of those motherfuckers that will tell you I told you so. Because I want you to learn the lesson. I do. That's a character flaw of mine. Because I don't think some people say it's not a good thing. You should let shit go. No, I'm not one of those people. If you guys went after me and pretend that I was lying, I'm right. You better hope I'm not right if you go after me. You better hope, because I will never let you forget this. You guys think I'm gonna let the Vanguard forget this Marianne Williamson shit? No, nigga. As long as they exist, it's gonna be 2020. Like, hey, Vanguard, remember that time he lied about the dirty break? Remember that time he put Marianne Williamson? So yeah, this is mostly me doing a victory lap because we was as I mentioned before the last segment, we come out first, we take the hits. Now, if you type in Marianne Williamson on Twitter, everyone is going after her. We were the first ones. The first ones. Oh, we were the first ones to say, yo, you guys are your fucking mind with the Marianne Williamson shit. And people thought we were divisive. They're like, oh my God, RBN, looking for clicks. How dare you go after Orb Lady? And what is something that I know you guys know I said, because I said it multiple times when it comes to Marianne Williamson. After our interview, after listening to her answers, it was obvious to me that she's here to sell books. Why do you think she's not taking any hard stances on controversial issues? So when it comes to the Ukraine issue, she repeats what the Democrats say because she don't want to lose a giant market value, a giant part of the market when she sells her books. So if you run as a third-party candidate, you're not going to have access to book sales among Democrats because Democrats will hate your ass for running third-party. So you run Democrats so Democrats don't Roth Nader at your ass so you can endorse Joe Biden. And then while you endorse Joe Biden, you sell your book. You know how I know this? If I know your fucking Damas, guys, you want to know how I know this? Because I pay attention to politics. How many times we seen this? Some motherfucker run for president and then he endorsed the person who wins and then he got a book coming out. That was the entirety of the 2016 and 2020 election. So our politics is people will take advantage of the national stage in order to sell books because capitalists like Marianne Williamson, they're smart. They're like, yo, one of the best ways that I can plug a book is running a national campaign. Niggas will have me on. They ask me questions. I can plug my book multiple times in interviews. And that's one of the things that caught my radar. Every single Marianne Williamson interview that I've seen, she mentioned her goddamn books. Yeah, I actually wrote a book about this. They asked her a tough question. I actually wrote a book about this. I got a book about this. Then I'm like, yeah, she's definitely fucking selling books. Anyway, so I ran it enough. Let's show the headline. I'm assuming you guys seen it. That's my bad. I need to stop assuming that you guys seen this stuff. So let's read the headline. Marianne Williamson in shambles. RBN vindicated once again. This is Jeremy Elwood, who have since locked his Facebook account because Marianne Williamson is about to come after this motherfucker. And he's going to mention this at the end of the tweet, at the end of the Facebook post. I don't know if he regrets this, but man, Marianne is about to go after his ass. So let me read. Marianne Williamson, her campaign is not a campaign. It is a book tour. Here's how I know. This is not a random guy. He was the national field director, and he was fired. And that's just a random fucking guy.
It's terrible.
Meanwhile, the Vanguard and Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske, they're going to have an interview with Marianne Williamson soon where this shit's not going to come up. Then you had allegations of staff abuse. And it was like, we're going to have an interview with Marianne. We're not going to bring it up. We are serious leftists. We're not going to bring up a labor dispute in that issue. So let me continue. So this is high up on the campaign. I was fired along with anyone who mentioned ballot access or a field plan. Her focus is only on events and social media. I was half joking a month ago that there was a book tour. So while he was on the campaign, he lost faith, CJ. So a month ago, Jeremy made a joke, was like, nigga, this shit a book tour? I'm not shitting on Jeremy at all. I got a lot of respect for Jeremy for admitting and posting this and he putting a lot of risk on himself here. Because I'm gonna show you the next page. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. Right? So before he was fired, he was thinking like, nigga, this is a book tour. But Jeremy, being someone who I think believes in these ideas, like there's no evidence that he's a con artist, he legitimately thinks this is the best thing to do. So he's like, all right, Marianne Williamson, a fucking con artist. So let's see if I can turn this shit around. Even though she's obviously trying to grift the working class, let's try to turn this shit around. And he says, I found out on the day that I was fired that she has a book coming out in September. Who could have saw that coming? And this is what I propose. If any presidential candidate that has a book coming out anytime soon, disqualified. Is that unreasonable? Nope. I think if you want to
you answered your own question. Is that unreasonable? Nope.
Nope.
Hey,
because if you want to be leader of a movement, I think you should sacrifice book sales. That's just me. Because we've seen how book sales can be used for corruption. And once again, I am advocating for a left that learned from their mistakes. Cori Bush, a person I would never in a million fucking years thought would sell us out. And I'm telling this as a Missouri activist. Laugh at me if you want. Everyone in Missouri, people in St. Louis, Cori Bush was legit. An actual nurse, actually organized the shit in Ferguson. A real motherfucking activist was Cori Bush. And that's why, as someone who learned from our mistakes, if they turn Cori Bush, they are turning anyone. You know how they turn Cori Bush, CJ? Audience chat? She got a book deal. You guys remember that segment we did last year? Cori Bush, one-term congressperson, no experience. She got a book deal. Surely because the publisher thought she was interesting. No, book deals is a form of corruption. That's how you corrupt people without taking corporate money. And that's so they're not part of our class. So my thing is, knowing this, because we want to left to learn from their experiences, I don't think it's unreasonable for us as a left movement to say, if you want to be our leader, no books. No more fucking books. Anyway, let me continue because I'm still presenting this. So he found out they got a book in September. And even knowing this, Jeremy was still like, man, I believe in this. Let's see if I can flip this around. He said, when I brought this up to a staff call, that we still don't have ballot access in any state. She literally called ballot access mystical stuff. That's a quote. Now, I would love to ask Jeremy about this.
Oh, Nick, this is so good. This is so good.
I told you, this is literally just a pure victory last time. I am very open about that. Because we took shit. I took shit because I have tweets. Here, look, you guys want to see me predicting this? I'll get back to this. This was obvious to fucking everybody. Look at it. Look at the date here. March 6th. 4 months ago, I told you guys this. I said, and this is, I have multiple reasons for making this tweet. I said the same people who have no problem calling poor activists grifters are, and this is what the Vanguard do. Vanguard RBN is grifters. That's what the Vanguard says. But while they support a millionaire white woman who is stealing working class money in order to do a book tour. So according to the Vanguard, we're grifters while they are supporting a millionaire white lady who is asking working class people for money for a vanity project no one believes will work. So she just sells a few books. Because according to the Vanguard and the professional managerial class left, the only people who are grifters are poor people. If you're rich and you're trying to get that goddamn bag, they're doing their thing. But if you're black revolutionaries calling out our oppressors, then you're a grifter. Explain how that makes sense. Because this is me predicting this months ago.
So good. This is so
months
good.
ago. This is a fun segment, isn't it? Months ago. Now let's get back to Jeremy. Now, why do I think this is? Because remember the interview I had where she failed the test in spectacular fashion? Check out my breakdown of that interview I did months ago if you guys want to know what I'm talking about. The moment I realized, even though I had suspicions, the moment I realized that Marianne Williamson was a grifter and that she was just here selling books. Remember the question I asked her, CJ? I said, if people donate money to Bernie Sanders, but they're upset and they don't want to spend money on politicians, what would your message be to them? And her message was fucking vote for someone else. No one who is serious about running, no one who's serious about leadership would ever say that. The second that Marianne Williamson said, oh, if you feel about these things the way you do, don't vote for me. She's saying that because she's like, nigga, I want you out of my grift. I don't want you to fuck this shit up. No serious candidate would say that. And that's why in my breakdown video after that, I said after that question, she was done. That's the soundbite I was looking for. I was looking for the sound. Give me a soundbite to justify my position on you. And she gave it to me. People still use that line against me. They say, oh, Nick, you were just looking for soundbite. Yeah. Goddamn right I was. Oh, Nick, you're such a biased journalist.
What do you want? You want him to... Yeah, you want a whole paragraph, nigga? He just wants her admitting to what he's saying already. What's the problem with that? But go ahead, Nick.
People like, Nick, you admitted that you just wanted to do a got you interview. You just wanted your soundbites. Yes! Nigga, I am a biased journalist that's advocating for my community. And I'm trying to prevent people from falling for this fucking grifter. So I'm going to do an interview with her to expose her, not to do fucking PR for her, not to ask her, not to help her sell books like the Cowardly Vanguard and Crystal and Cow. My job is not to ask her I said ask. My job is not to help her sell books. That's why she came on RBN. Despite the fact that we were trashing on her, and you guys see this is what the fucking guy named, the guy, the whistleblower here? I don't want to, Jeremy. That's what Jeremy says. He says right here, she's interested in just doing media events. So she wanted to come on RBN, even though we most likely will grill her. She's like, I don't care about what question he's asked. I'm going to give a long diatribe answer without answering the question. So at the end, I can plug a book. So I can get these people to like me so they can buy my book later, I should say. I wasn't going to have it. And that's why the Marianne Williamson left melted down. They're like, oh, Nick, you wanted soundbites against her? And they was mad because I got the goddamn soundbites. I got everything I wanted out of that interview, right? So let me continue this because there's so much breakdown here. We still got a whole nother fucking page of this. Jeremy,
Nick, I went in this code. I retweeted everything and read comments, but I didn't read this on purpose. Yes. I'm like, oh, I gotta wait for this shit right here. Go ahead.
Oh, I love that CJ coming into the story code. I love it. I love breaking new shit to my friend. So they explain how she's, and I don't know the context of this. I would love to see Jeremy expand on this because he used quotes here. So I'm taking him at his word here. Since you quoted her saying that means apparently she says that ballot access is mystical stuff. Do you guys remember the people who criticized Dr. Cornel West? You have Marianne Williamson supporters that say that Dr. Cornel West should run as a Democrat because you don't have ballot access. Why would they support Marianne Williamson who don't care about ballot access?
It's a joke.
Jokes on top of jokes, on top of jokes, beneath jokes. They just openly hypocritical. They criticize Dr. Cornel West for him and Jill Stein have a plan to get ballot access in 47 states. But before they even revealed their plan, and even before they got to work, literally the week that Dr. Cornel West announced, before any effort was made, these people say, oh my God, this is not a serious campaign. They don't got ballot access. Meanwhile, those same people were propping up Marianne Williamson, who called ballot access mystical stuff. I hope through this presentation that you guys see how big of a clown that Marianne Williamson supporters was. And if I was one of the people that came out early in support of Marianne Williamson, I would be so goddamn embarrassed. And a lot of them are running away from this issue. You guys see, a lot of them not going to report on this shit, right? Coward shit. So I took an L on Bernie Sanders and AOC. I took a giant L propping those people up. So what do I do in response? I'm like, I'm going to make up for all the times I fucking shield for these people, and I'm going to bash these motherfuckers because I feel like I have an obligation to do so after telling people they was good people. The Marianne people, they helped her grift out, and they're not going to have no accountability, no responsibility, no retraction. Watch all the channels that's not going to cover this story. And that's the first step to forgiveness, right?
admitting what you done.
I propped up Bernie Sanders. That was my bad. So now I go after Bernie Sanders all the time because I was wrong about him. Search my tweets. Look at all the segments we do. I'm making up for lost time. What Marianne Williamson's supporters are going to do, they're going to pretend that they never supported her in the first place. Now, there's going to be people like the Vanguard who can't hide their support for her, but there's going to be a ton of people that are going to delete tweets and they're going to pretend this shit never happened instead of calling her out like they should. They should be, and instead of us, they should be the number one people calling out Marianne Williamson because they fooled them. Anyway, this is a ranty ass segment. Let me continue. So this story is so fucking so funny. I could not wait till RBN Live today just to talk about this. Now, Jeremy says, myself, the national field director, and my partner field strategist were let go after we toiled to make a solid national field plan. And Marianne Williamson, like, get the fuck out of here with that serious shit. You're not doing serious shit here. I'm here to go on Cow and Crystal Brand. I'm here to go on the Vanguard and sell books. Y'all niggas don't get this? You gotta know how manufactured consent works, right? So they don't tell people the con. Morning Joe and their people around him, they got the job because they know. They are promoted. That's the theory behind Noam Chomsky manufacturing consent. The people who are there are the people that you don't have to tell, right? So Marianne Williamson accidentally hired some real motherfuckers who thought there was actually a campaign, and Marianne Williamson fired them because she's like, nigga, they did not pass. They did not realize what I was doing here. People like Peter Dow and many other campaign people like Jeremy, they wasn't on the same board as Marianne. Like the same way MSNBC, CNN, and corporate campaigns, they would be on the same board. Yeah, this is a grift. Like everyone on Chris Christie's campaign, who we covered earlier, they know what the fuck that campaign is about. There's no one here advocating Chris Christie taking shit seriously. They're not saying, hey man, Chris Christie, that's January 6th shit. You probably should ease up on that. They're not doing that because they know their role. Now, there are people who was hired by Marianne who did not know that she was just selling books. So Marianne quickly fired her ass. And people like Crystal Ball, Vanguard, and many others had no questions or criticism of that. Very interesting, isn't it? Now, what they were let go after we told to make a solid national field plan and had to pivot to political director roles to fill gaps so we can finish the field plan. We weren't allowed to complete our roles because of mystical stuff. So this is incredible. Like these people will try and do their jobs. Marianne Williamson,
this is crazy. This is crazy to me.
Crazy L on everybody who supported Marianne Williamson. You need to own it. I'm not letting these people forget. Y'all own this shit. So as a left movement, we can learn and move on. If you're not acknowledging this shit, you're not learning, you're not moving on. At RBN, we advocate for a left movement that learn and live and learn. And we called Marianne Williamson now as a fraud and charlatan that she is because we've seen frauds and charlatans before. And she smelled like a motherfucker. We sniffed her out like a motherfucker. That's obviously a fraud. The people was living in copium. Vanguard, it was in hopium. Oh, she's a good person because she was nice to me on the interview. But anyway, this is a fun segment. Let me continue. We got another page here. Marianne has fired those who know how to make a campaign win and kept and promoted those who are only event and social media aware of the book tour.
Pause. This is why Peter Dow was gone?
Yes.
Because Peter Dow knows his way around democratic politics and magically he's gone. This is it. Because listen at that line. She fires anybody who's competent to actually do anything electorally. Making sense now. It's all makes sense.
Everything.
This is what I tell my kids all the time. The truth makes sense. That's how I know you lying to my kids because I can spot a lie. I'm like, because the truth makes sense. Human nature sense. It makes sense. Now, when you were wondering, oh, what happened with Peter Dow? What happened with Jason Cole? What's really going on? Now we're seeing. Now we're going. Oh, now that makes sense because the truth makes sense. Go ahead, Nick.
Now remember, a lot of these people were not allowed to tell the story because of Marianne Williamson forced them to sign NDAs, right? Non-disclosure agreements. And I don't want to spoil it. You guys can read the bottom of the paragraph here. And he thinks he's going to be in trouble for this. And there's so much shit that the Marianne Williamson former fire staffers. I really want their story. I don't know the detail about the NDA, but the number one question that Marianne Williamson should be asked on literally every single interview moving forward, if she is not, they're not serious, is will you release your formerly fired employees from NDAs? Now, do you guys remember when the Vanguard and the entire professional managerial class left, attacked Jimmy Dore for having a very standard media NDA where people who work for Jimmy's show, because they do their show at home, you're not allowed to talk about personal family business. We'll go on the Dore home because they have access to that stuff.
Their address, stuff like that.
Like personal shit. That's the NDA. That's the NDA. Jimmy Dore's NDA is you don't talk about the Dore family. You don't talk about personal issues, right? Very common in media. The Vanguard did a whole fucking stream talking about that shit, pretending that he's doing something unique among the media. Meanwhile, Marianne Williamson has harsh NDAs that prevent people like Jeremy from telling the story on how Marianne Williamson is grifting workers. Vanguard, completely silent on that. The entire left that attacked Jimmy Dore for that, completely silent on that. Are we going to allow them to get away with this? This is why I told you so. It's because I'm not. I'm not going to let these people get away with that. So this is what he continues. She fired everyone who has any semblance of field.
Wow.
She fired anyone who has any semblance of field experience, I think that's supposed to be. But anyone who was serious about winning, she's like, nigga, get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And once again, I don't give people benefit. I think the Vanguard and the Crystal people know this. They're playing their fucking role. I don't think they are. But anyway, let me continue. She promoted the New Hampshire state director to campaign manager. His name is Carlos. He knows nothing about national campaigns.
And he's a Democratic bootlicker. He's a Biden bootlicker. He already said, again, go watch the Bad Faith interview. He does, this person, Carlos Cardona, along with the Texas director, he's one of the people who have left. He resigned. The Texas state director resigned last week. Like, these people are dropping like flies, and they're all Democratic bootlickers, and they say it in the interview. Oh, well, yeah, we're going to support Joe Biden anyway. Whoever the nominee is. But go ahead.
He knows nothing about national campaigns. Meanwhile, Jeremy worked on national campaigns for 8 years. But the deeply serious Marianne Williamson campaigns, I'm gonna flip the coin on Carlos. Because Carlos not going to ask me any hard questions. He's not going to question his grift. Carlos is here for the ride. He explained how he had no experience in the field whatsoever. And this is this statement is how you know Jeremy had enough of her fucking shit. Because this is where he spikes the ball in her face. Marianne is a grifter. Do not support her. She's here to sell her book coming out in September, and that is all she is here for. If she wanted to win, she would listen to the multitude of experts that was on her campaign before she fired them for giving advice and direction. I work for her, and I am all the more sad for it because I was duped. I thought I was more aware than that. Now, we are trying to prevent people for being in the situation that Jeremy's in. Well, Jeremy, props to him. He wanted to take the L like I am in certain things. He's taking the L that he felt for Marianne Williamson. Our coverage on Marianne Williamson from day one was to prevent this. Was to prevent people from wasting their labor hours. How many workers donated to her? Do anyone have a number? How much money did the working class waste on her? And not a lot. Because her campaign being shambles.
So it said